Hello again, everybody. It's Harry Boxley, the Technical Trader at TechTrader.com. It's Saturday morning, 25th of February. This is the weekend webinar. Well, another eventful week in the market. As you can see, we could not get through that 4,200 range over the last couple of weeks and have pulled back dramatically. Lost about 2% last week, getting down to 39.43, finishing 39.70. I'm redrawing the trend lines because Tom DeMark once told me that the best way to do a trend line is by looking at the first pullback off the low. It will be right there, connecting it with the next few pullbacks. Take a look how it held there, and look where it connected to on Friday, right there, about 39.43. If we crack here, and it's slightly below the 50, I believe the 50 comes in at let's see, 39.80 right now. I have the 50 at, so we're 10 points below it. I think the market needs to thrust above 39.70 next week to have any chance of moving back up towards 41 and 4,200, which is current resistance. On the downside, lateral price support exists right about the 38.85 range. And that could easily be tested on Monday. And below that, we break the trend line and we have a big problem. If this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going up to 4,300 to test the August high at some point short term, unless we crack, in which case this is no more than a three-wave corrective move up, and that's all. But I also want to point out that when you look at the 1 year long declining tops line, many times the stock will break out or an index and then retest that line. That's right where we are. This is an important level. Moving average, trend line, and declining tops line retest, all in the same juxtaposition, right where Friday's low was, around 39.43. If we could thrust off of here, we have something going. If we crack this, it's Katie bar the door on the downside. We go to 37.65, at least, maybe even 3,600. And the X looks different. It's basically a triple bottom breakout of a base and then a falling wedge right through near support and just above the 50-day moving average, which is 11,715. We're about 250 points above that. But you know what I feel about falling wedges? I'm often seeing them snap back. We can get crazy with this until I see 12,200. In which case we can come back up and test 12.8, 13.2, and 13.7, all projections if this is in fact a base. Also in this case, the declining tops line, major declining channel, bear market, that saw this one go from NASDAQ 100 from 16,765 to 10,440, losing 6,300 points. We broke out and we're retesting. So if a hold of that zone right here, we'd be very bullish. There's the zone I'm talking about. It's more of a 50% fib retracement. Right now it's about 0.735. So somewhere in that zone would be an ideal hold, and then a turnaround. If we crack, we're going back down. It's all bets are off. Small cap index, the IWM, also broke its declining top side. It popped out. Got up to resistance across here and backed off in a three-wave corrective pullback falling wedge as well. So these patterns can turn out to be bullish if they don't have any much further downside. A break of the 50 at 184.25 thereabout, which is 3 points from here, would negate the current pattern and send us down to at least 178, if not 170.71. Transportation index, a big pullback. You see the same thing here, declining top side broken. The lateral price resistance broken with a spike up, and then the three-wave corrective pullback right to the 50. Currently, the transportation index 50 is at 14,366. It closed at 14,629. So an eventful next couple of days for the market, in my opinion. Let's look at the underlying indicators. The McClellan Oscillator is getting oversold. The most oversold reading in 2 months occurred on Friday morning at minus 154 from a plus 205 just 6 weeks ago. Historically, anything in this range down here is oversold. We're not quite there yet. If we get one more down slot or big bash to the downside, taking us down to minus 180, 200, I think we can trigger a move off of that. And that would also concur with what I just showed you on the indices if we go a little bit lower on Monday morning. We'll see. This is all conjecture, of course. The percentage of stocks above their 40 has really deteriorated rapidly from a recent high of 81%, meaning 4 out of 5 stocks were above their 40, but right now it's less than half. At one point it was 40%. So on Friday, you can see the potential pullback. The VIX also popped a little bit, but considering what the market has done, this thing really hasn't popped much. And after getting up to 2363, it pulled right back a couple points. We don't see this yet. It's fear. It may be rising, but it hasn't got anywhere near a panic point. The major exchange traded funds that we follow. The SMH is the V bottom, 1, 2, 3, and a 4. We can just hold it in this range or even consolidate for a while. I would say the SMH takes out 255. We're back in leadership and probably running up towards 285. Financials, a bit weaker, but above support. If you look at the overall pattern, it's still left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Obviously, as long as the shoulder line isn't broken, you're good. Your support right now in financial, the FAS is 75 and 67. Long way from here, though. Still a healthy looking chart. In biotechs, XBI weaker. After a breakout, got up to resistance at the declining top line, we pulled back to test support. At this point, this is what I'm looking at. Sort of a falling wedge and nearing a trend line support around 80, 81. We're already at 81.50, down from 92 and change. So we've lost 11 points on that index alone. The LABU is the same. You can see where key support comes in here, like 5 or 6 bottoms right around 590 to 6 range. That is your support. I want to jump to the major components, the NASDAQ generals per se. Now, I'm not saying that this is a massive long-term top on Apple, but you can see that we're making consecutive lower lows here. And now what? Well, we need Apple to hold in this zone ideally. Just fill this little gap. But it may further downside, we may test 141 to 139 in that zone. There's moving average price support there. That also would be close to a 50% fib retracement. So I wouldn't be surprised if the market took a bit of a hit or rallied from the get-go. It's one of the two things we're going to have to find out Monday. Amazon, this island reversal is very ominous to me. And look what it resulted in. It moved from 114 to 92. Right on support here. Any further damage, we're going to test the lows at 82. So this is really important stuff for Amazon. If you look at the overall package or picture, 1, 2, 3, 4, big fifth wave and a pop. Now this has to consolidate or base in this area. And if it doesn't, there's a chance that the market collapses or goes sharply lower. You could see Amazon lead the way down to 77. That's my target if we crack. First to test to 81 and then possibly 77. Google, also quite weak. You can see the breakdown, a 1-2 day snapback to moving averages and a failure. Now, does it have a falling wedge? Yes. That would be right there, see it? So the falling wedge could result in a snapback, but also might see a test of 85.6 first. Lots to downside buy. Google's really being sold down there along with Amazon. Semiconductors still holding for it, but NVIDIA had a great earnings report and pulled back. You can see a little platform of support here. NVIDIA immediately cracks 229 and might test down towards 210, 12. And so we'll have to just see what NVIDIA wants to do here, but it's quite strong. Netflix, which was one of the strongest stocks in the whole index, has really rolled over the last couple of weeks and broken a head and shoulders type top formation in double support area at the neckline and moving average, 50. Right now, It's on an immediate trend line and just above lateral price support near 298 to 300. So you may see if we follow through to the downside, Apple, Amazon, Google, then Netflix wouldn't shock me to see it test the 300. Meta, quite strong in the same vein as NVIDIA, only it's been in a falling channel ever since it had a spectacular report. And you can see right now, key level is right here. Also, the trend line. So we either break right here, and in which case we fill the gap on Facebook, now Meta, and get down to 100, 53.4. So you can see the damage that can be done, or the rally that could take place. If they can hold these levels and pop, the jury's still out. Microsoft, also after key breakout, reversal, retested, and then rolled over. Very unhappy with this pattern. Below the moving averages, at key lateral price support and a breakup and moving average. Test a breakup here. Microsoft heads down to 230.32. Again, so we're going to find out Monday if these want to crack and spike down and blow out everybody and then maybe turn the market around. But this is ominous looking. Tesla, well, it's one of the better ones. But until Tesla breaks, in my opinion, first 188, not 88.9, and then 183.4. Those are your levels to keep an eye on. Beneath that is way down here, 162. Any breakout to the upside, up 215 especially, this could be 235 and 255, but it remains to be seen. Nevertheless, a beautiful trend, probably the best one among the large cap NASDAQ 100 generals. That's a quick look at what I wanted to show you. Let's get to some stocks. And we got a long list of longs, so bear with me, folks. I'm going to cover some shorts. Archer Aviation. To check out the long decline, that's how Archer go from 10 to 1 and change. 10 to 160. A V bottom with big volume in January. Then run up that pop, pullback, pop, make a new high, 334 before the pullback. Now the stock is wedging in this area. Aerospace in general, I'm looking at a lot of junior aerospace stocks that look great here. You'll see some of them today. Keep an eye on this one. AEHR still consolidating. A beautiful one, in fact, considering the big run-up it had. Take a look at this. 6 3/4 to 37, more than 30 points up in a 5-wave advance. So this is a less reliable pattern, but if we do get a bull face, we might see 42, 44. Nevertheless, at this point, it'd be advisable to stop under 29.5 3/4. AI, explosive move, obviously. Anytime you go from 10 to 30 and triple that quickly, then pull back down, spike and pull back down, and now we got a wedge. Do not let AI go under 20. You could then fall apart to 17 or even 16. But any move out of here with volume could explode this back to 28, 30, even 36, my intermediate target should it break out. Allegro Microsystems, beautiful base breakout, pullback, falling wedge. We tested the moving average and then ran up and sharply so. Very strong rising pattern. I really never even saw this chart before, but I noticed it this weekend. I wanted to show it to you. And what else? New all-time highs last week, 46-ish, and now flagging. Next target, 50. ALTG is another I noticed. Look at the breakout of this base. Look at the volume. In the last 6 weeks, the stock has trended a tremendous volume. Something big up here. This is a renting and leasing services company. What a chart. Target 20 and 22. Junior Biotech ARDX. Beautiful rising channel. After popping and wedging and popping, it's now wedging again. Should it get through the 340, 45 range, targets are 4 and 5. Arhaus. Furniture retailer, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, breakaway gap right there. See it? Run up to resistance and a pullback and consolidation. Next target, 16 3/4. ASC, shipping stocks I've really ignored for quite a while, and I'm not advocating buying them, but I do want to show you the momentum. Fantastic run. In January of last year, Ardmore was 3. Today it's almost 19, 6-fold increase. And still looks like it may not be done. Momentum could carry this 22.3. ASUR, Assure Software, is yet another that I noticed this weekend. The fabulous chart. This is a 4-year high. Getting across 12 could get you to 15. AT&T had a big move from November through February, taking it from 11 to 30, 29, 40 anyway. Look at the last 4 or 5 weeks coiling. So to take that out, we might see 32, even 38. ATEC, it's a beautiful rising channel since July of last year, and it spiked down to 5 3/4, and currently it's tripled. Friday's high was 15.49. There is some resistance at a target around 16.5 and then 19.5. ATRO, and there's another aerospace defense stock. Big downtrend, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down. Double bottom base, breakout, retest the moving average. Breakout, breakaway gap, spike, rising wedge. Very strong chart. I can see 17 and 20. UPH, long decline for this biotech. How about 34 to 4? Breakaway gap, run up sharply to resistance and coiling here, or flag. Support 7.5, resistance 9.5, target would be 12.5. Keep an eye on that one. Abadel, ABDL. Friday had an announcement of a positive court ruling in their favor. Stock popped about 9%. It allows the market overall. I got some trend lines here. Overall, this is what it looks like. And I'm having a target of 12. BHC, well, Bausch is coming out of a base, it appears. Thursday was a big day for it. It popped from 890 to 1023. And Friday was an inside day and lower volume, not much lower. Nevertheless, my target on this one, 11.25.5. BLBD, look at this left shoulder, head, right shoulder, breakout, retest. Perfect entry out right there. At about 13, and it exploded to 21.5. From 13, another pullback. If it's orderly, your next target is 25. Boyle. Well, folks, I'm not sure if it's ready yet, but I think it is. Let's take a look at the 15-minute chart. What we've seen is a big drop and funny, strong trend developing. It's taken this one from a spike low of 434 and gotten above 6. That's just in the last, 3 or 4 days. If you look at the daily chart, 3 of the biggest volume bars ever, all on the upside. Telling me this may at least test the 675-90 zone right there. You do that and get through it, then you're on your way to a much bigger gain. But for now, that's my target. BORR. This oil and gas driller, beautiful, made a new high week before last at 730 and backed off. Held support and bounced. My target now is near 8. BTAI in the biotech sector, long downtrend. Breaks out of the base, flags, pops, and there's a larger flag pattern. If it gets to 34, 36 maybe had, but I'm looking for higher levels in the low 40s. Kaba, huge uptrend. 59 cents in September. And by February, it was nearly $13. So almost 20-fold. The pullback is to be expected, but we don't want it below that. So watch 750.65, targeting 12. Seco, one of my top picks, or a swing trade, I should say. Beautiful stair-step move, breaks out of the base here, runs up in wedges or coils, breaks out the flags, again. Quite frankly, here's truly looking for 18 and 22 on this one. Great looking chart. Cody, brought to you by our friend Gio, who originally gave us this at around the $8 range. It made it up to almost 12, 11.65 recently. and it's flagging. I think the next target is 13. CTLT breaks out of a base, explodes. It's been flagging for 3 weeks. Should it get above, and keep an eye on it, 72.60. Your target's 83 and 90. In the shipping group, even though it says oil and gas, DHT Maritime is an oil and gas shipper. Breaks out of the base here, retests it, explodes to the channel top, tests the bottom, and then goes vertical. Based on this, looking for 12.5. EBON, big downtrend. Basically a reverse split stock, and then an explosive move off the low, which saw it go from 2.5 to 11 in about a week and a half. Subsequently, which is normal, we see an orderly 1, 2, 3 pull back and pop. Now a little flag. This is something that if it pops above, this is key, above 9 with energy, 10.5, 12.5, and more than that could be had. Keep an eye on that, and support at 6.5. EDAP, medical device company that broke out there, wedge, exploded, and it's been stair-stepping its way up along the trend line, currently right at the lateral resistance. Why is that resistance? Go back to this snapback high. So we get through here, this thing can go vertical into the mid-teens. Targets at 13.5 and 15. EDU, the Chinese educational stock, broke out there. We put a swing on it, it ran up and pulled back and tested. It ran up again to new high and meadow target at about 46.7 range, and that pulled back. Still looking for more. Target 57.8. EHTH is a tech trader swing that broke out and wedged, broke out again and retested, ran up to all my targets have been met, and now I have new ones closer to $12. Elf on a shelf. Look at ELF. Unreal. What a move. From May of last year at 20, the stock is almost quadrupled to 75. And it looks like it's going higher. Powerful move. I'm not sure why, but the picture tells the story, doesn't it? Enliven Therapeutics. Big drop, but this is a reverse split. However, breakaway gap, a beautiful bull flag right here. Breakaway gap, run up sharply and pull back and form another coil of sorts, pop out and retest, and now it's going again. Target 37. ETNB's wonderful biotech stock that has ripped under 2, 15.5, currently consolidating. Next target 18 and 21. Evolent Health broke out and put a swing on it. They got to target number 1 and pulled back, and now it's up to target number 2 nearly. The next target is 38, 40. May need to back and fill. FDMT, a top 20 pick, exploded, pulled back. It's consolidating now for 3 months. Don't know if it's going to hold support, but I really don't want it under 17. Targets at 24.5 and 28. FRO, another, I believe, shipper, even though it says oil and gas midstream. This stock has really run beautifully, multiple waves up at the top of the channel, but more importantly, this is the highest level in 7 years, 8 years, sorry. Even above that. My target, eventually, mid-20s. Up there. First Solar, one of my favorites, as you know, breakaway gap there, and a wedge, a flag occurred where we really got interested in it at about 98. We made it up, almost doubled to 185. And it subsequently has pulled back. Now the solar group isn't acting great in here. Nevertheless, if this manages to hold right there, right about there, and run up again, my target's going to be 185 and 215. Key point for me is to stop First Solar under 157. Fastly broke out of a base, pulled back sharply, and held a moving average, and then went vertical. From that point, under 10 to 17, 18. Now the pullback looks like a falling wedge. Just look at it as hourly. See what I mean? So this pattern here is something to be watched closely. Fastly pops out of here. We're looking at 17 and 19 for your trade. FTI Consulting. Oh, excuse me. FMC Technologies. Breaks out of a base, coming through that level. And keeps going. Right, the target was 12.5 and 14.5. We hit 1570. The target now 17.5. Fusion Pharma breaking out of the base with a breakaway gap, spiked and it's consolidating. Next target 6 and 8. GE, believe it or not, after the reverse split and everything else that GE did, large base ensued. This is a left shoulder, head, right shoulder. GE could very well be $150 stock in the next year or two. That's my opinion. I don't know if it's going to do it. I'm only telling you what the measure move tells me. Double bottom base breakout, retested the moving average and trend line. It's a sharp one, 1, 2, 3, and a rising wave 4. My immediate target is 90. GVA in the engineering construction group, pressing the multi-year highs in a 1, 2, 3, and this is wave 4. Should we get through here? 49 is your target. HIMS, look at this pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 waves down, big climb. Spike low in May, ran up to near resistance and pullback, breakout, wedge, pop to resistance and pull back at a falling channel or flag. And now you can see the pop wedge, pop wedge. Target 11.5, 14. HIMX, tech trader swing, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, breakout. I put a swing on it. It ran up, not quite to the target. It pulled back gently. Well, it pulled back to the point where it tested key support and held it. And then pulled back again to form what looks like a potential wedge in here. Now, reversed and had an engulfing reversal day on Friday, not a big one, but with net, on a bad day, a good day. Let's just say on a bad day for the market, a good day for the stock. Targeting 9, 10 zone, and then eventually 12. HROW is the tech trader top 20 pick for the year. It broke out, spiked up, and pulled back right to support. Not only lateral price support, but the 50-period moving average and the trend line. That's your stopping point, period, on the 15. If it goes, retesting 20 and then 23.4 for your targets. IMMR breaks out of a base with a breakaway surge, runs up to the target, pulls back in a big wedge, breaks out Friday, and then reverses back down again. So I'm not sure what to do with this one yet, but as long as it remains in a rising channel, I'll stick with it. Your target's up 9.5. IMBT, look at this breakout, this base pattern on this one. This is a tech trader top 20 pick as well. In October, it popped a wedge and it just kept channeling up. Now, recently, after hitting almost 20 and a quarter, it pulled down a couple times, now a third time on Friday. So maybe the dangerous in here, maintain your stops under 14. If it gets to 19, you got mid-20s target. Semiconductors, particularly juniors, are looking not much better. Indy, which was up to 16, we dropped all the way down to 5. Double bottom there, ran up, almost broke out, and then retested. Now it's really surged. From the early January or late December low, 566, stock has doubled to 1054. My target now is 12 and 16. INOD, involved with the Internet of Things, had a real surge from December low, 280 to 765, and that's nearly a triple, but there's resistance up there. You can see Friday's low in reversal was an engulfing reversal. Stop under 6 and a quarter. Next target, 9. IQ, beautiful chart. Currently consolidating for 3 weeks. The move needs to get about up above 8 to really get going. My targets are then 9, 9.5, and then 11. Iridium, stock I just noticed this weekend, after breaking the base, it stair stepping its way higher, is at new all-time highs. There's room to run. We might see a $90 to $100 stock in this one eventually. KD, the spin-off from IBM, breaks out of a base with a breakaway gap, goes up to the top of the channel, now resistance at 17, and pulls back to test 15, reversing on Friday. Support is 14.5, and that's a stop. The target is 18 and then 19.5. LAZR added as a swing on Friday, exploded. Let's show you where we went, why we entered it. After exploding and pulling back and starting to move again, this is where the breakout occurred and why I put a swing on it. It then ran up and had an ascending bull coil, I'm confident that we're going to see higher levels of this. At least that's what it looks like technically to me. Notice the breakout across the declining top time right there. So we get through that level, minor resistance. Maybe on Monday we get another point out of it to 10, 9.25, 10, and 11.5 are targets. Eventually 16. Luckin Coffee. Well, I've been talking about it for a long time. This had one hell of a recovery from the old bankruptcy when it was trading at $1.16. We ran all the way up to 17 and pulled down to the 5 level, but from 5, we're back up to a new high over 30. It's the highest level seen since early 2023 or high. If this continues, I would look for high 30s and low 40s in this one. Great momentum. LNTH broke out Thursday, had an engulfing reversal day on Friday after dipping into the gap and closing strongly. I'm now looking for this an extension to 78 and then 82.3. LPG exploded and is wedging in here with a target in mid-20s. Luna, after a long decline, broke out there, broke through there, ran up and gapped up through there, and now it's been consolidating for 2 months. The next targets are, if we get to 10.75, 12 and 13. Lights breaks out of a base, one of the stronger charts on the board, and just keeps running up the channel. Your target is now 17.5, 18. In the gaming group, Melco exploded, and now it's pulled back. Could be dangerous if the market craps out. Your stop's going to be 10.5. Your targets are 14 and 17. MNSO, breakaway move, pullback, pop wedge, and pop and run. Right at the highs here, and resistance in that zone. Should we get through that? Probably looking at 20 as your next target. How about that, Momo? Looking good. And there's your angle. NEO. Well, it popped out. I put a swing on it, then backed off, and boom. And a really good report and exploded, although it did have an inside day and pulled back on Friday, about 5%. Nevertheless, we get to 18. I'm looking for something in the low 20s, 22 range. NRDS, NerdWallet, big base, breakaway move, and a rising pattern. It's an engulfing reversal bar nearly on Friday. Really good, strong chart. Look, if this thing gets above 20, it could run into the low to mid 20s very quickly. But keep your stops under there. It's under 17. Another semiconductor in the junior sector, Navitas. Big decline from the low 20s down to a 3. But run up a sharp one, then a pullback that held the breakout points on two different angles, and then spike up on Friday. My target is 8 on this move. OCEA, well, best show you this one on a 1-minute chart. First, an explosive move, and so I'll go vertical and then pull back. Yesterday, it consolidated, popped, pulled back, and popped again. When I saw it break out at this falling wedge, we put a tech trader swing on it right here at about 8.29, I think it was. Within an hour, it was trading at 10.30 for 2 points. The pullback, and particularly after hours, has it in a better position for what I think could be an explosive move once and if it gets above 10.5. Then I'm targeting 11 and 13. OCUL, long downtrend, exploded off the low of 265, had a 3-wave corrective flag, and then went vertical, reaching 649 from 265 in about 6 weeks. It's flagging or wedging in here, and should he get above that level, 7.5, 3/4, and 9 are targets. Owens, Illinois, now OI Glass. What a chart. Pop coil, pop wedge, pop flag. Target 25.5. Keep an eye on this one. If it pops this flag, it could explode. It's got a very strong momentum at this point here in a lousy market. Folks, just want to point out to you that my experience in all my life and a career over 55, 60 years of trading is that the stocks that are strongest in a downtrend are the stocks that are absolutely the strongest when the market turns. So if there's going to be any kind of rally, this one can really participate, targeting 25 and 27. OSUR, another medical biotech type stock that broke out last week. My target, 7.5 and 9. Path, Broke out of a base, we put a swing on it, it reached target number 1 and then pulled back. It's right on support. Needs to hold it here. It's a three-way corrective falling wedge. If it goes, targeting 18 and 22. Puma, nice inverse head and shoulders and breakout. We put a swing on it, ran up to target number 1. It's been consolidating for two and a half months, so it's kind of boring. I just don't want to see it crap out under, say, 375.80. What you really need is over 5. That's your first target. Second target, 6.5, 3/4. PCBX, explosive move, and a tech trader top 20 pick. It's been coiling, consolidating, and pulling back a little bit in here. Let's see what this does. If it goes, 48 and 55 targets. PDFS. Really haven't followed this one, but I noticed the breakout last week and the flag in here looking good with 40.42. PDSB broke out. I put a tech trader swing and I believe a top 20 pick, and it really ran sharply all the way up to 1365. Now back, way back to 8 and change. So it's on key support here. And for me, now this has got to hold ideally somewhere right here. And this is what may be forming. We'll keep an eye on it. Look at the long-term targets. Right now, your target would be a retest of 10 and 13. If it holds, stop under 7.5, 3/4. Perion, beautiful chart, one of our favorites all year. Matter of fact, we've had 2 good swings on it. Currently broke out, falling wedge, and exploded to my targets in the low 33 range, hitting 35, pulling back, and now it's wedging again. If this extends and we get a good market, 39.40 target. You can stop on the 29.5. PRQR exploded a month and a half, 2 months ago, and it's been coiling ever since. Keep an eye. If it breaks out, 4 and 4 3/4 type targets. Protagonist Therapeutics broke out of space, and it's been running ever since. On the lousy day Friday, this one popped 41 cents. There's a gap there to be filled. It did that there. Next target, 22.3. QNST, breaking out of an inverse head and shoulder type pattern, we tested the moving average. And then formed a new channel, the rising channel. It surged right to the top of that channel, which is also lateral resistance. Anything through here, it can go into the low 20s. Our CEL breaks out of a base with a gap, pullback, flag, exploded Friday from 324, 35%. Volume was a heavy 1.1 million. For that stock, it's very heavy. My target now, 15. RELY coming out of a big base, exploded on Thursday, pulled back Friday, but it looks like it could be a swing. Keep an eye on this one, particularly over 14.30. I would then look for a move to about 16 3/4. RIG. Well, a member of the oil and gas drilling group really had a nice move from the September low at 235, getting up and nearly, well, more than tripling to 769. The current pullback at snapback is something to watch. If it gets above 7 3/4, I'm looking at 9 3/4, but be careful of that. Revance, another biotech stock that's just been phenomenal. Big breakaway move on earnings in January. A little pullback and then pop, now flagging. I'm hearing from some of my institutional sources that I love this story. And if it pops here, we can be in the 40s. RVPH explodes, falling wedge, explodes, another kind of wedge, and now a coil. If this extends, we're probably looking at 8.5, 9 zone. But first, a retest of 6 is in order. Rhythm Pharmaceuticals, one of our best swings of the year. Once it broke out here, I put a swing on it, I believe, at 5 3/4. And within a couple months, it made it to 30 and change. Eventually pulled back and then ran up to 35. We have an orderly retrace here. Longest support to the 20 range holds. The stock, I'm still good with it. For next target of 36 and 40. SCLX, wild and crazy stock. Look at this explosive move from the December low at 287. Within 2.5 weeks, it was 1169. Then it backed sharply and backed and filled, and it's formed a large wedge. I just keep this on your monitoring screen. So the pop, your 11, 11.5 is your initial target. They're looking at 14 or better. Seed had a disappointing week last week. What I heard, due to a large margin seller, with the stock of 200,000 shares dropped 4 days in a row, is now a secondary support. I believe it's a buy down here. Personal position line. SERA, explosive move, breakaway gap. And a sharp run up with a flag. Not sure where this goes, but that's a hell of a move. Looking for a move to 4.5 and 5. SGML and Sigma Lithium and the Lithium Group popped out and it's consolidated. I believe if this one takes out 36.5, it's going to be a 40 and 45 range. Another semiconductor in the junior sector blew out and pulled back. I like the overall look of this one. I think once and if it takes out the high, we're looking at 1920. Resistance 15.75. SLQT broke out of the base with an explosive move. Here's your resistance and went right through it with a gap, sharp run wedge, and breakout. We'll pull back Friday. My target remains 3.25 and 4. SMCI, beautiful long-term move, right at resistance and about to break out. It looks like my target's 119.20. No kidding. Sono. Well, I like Sonos as a company, and it pulled back and reversed on Friday with an engulfing bar. My target's at 22 and 24, and then high 20s. SOUN with a big move off the January low, went from under $1 to 5 it, so it went basically fivefold, and now it's been backing and filling in a wedge. If it can pop out, because he's 6.5 and 8, that would be something. SOXL, well, I put a swing on it and then it backed off. This is key support for me. You cannot let this one get underneath 13.25. What we need is a pop above 15.35 to get it going again. Then your targets are 18 and 21. Spotify with a big move now pulling back. Keep an eye on this one. Any breakout above 130, looking at 145 and 160. STNG, another shipper, oil and gas shipper. Look at this move. January low of last year, 11. Recent high, 64. Target, 70. STRL, an engineer construction group. New all-time highs, folks. Looks like a stock of momentum, low to mid 40s. TAL, wedging. EDU, it's in the same group, is looking a little bit better, but they're both in uptrends. This one, I wouldn't touch until I see 780 or better on volume. Then your target's 9.5 and 12. Teradata breaks out of a downtrend, breaks out of a base, spikes up and pulls back and flags. I like the look of this. Targeting mid to high 40s for starters. TERN is a tech trader top 20 pick. It exploded, pulled back on a flag, ran up target, pulled back to test the trend line, test it again, breakout and wedge, testing it again, and ran up the resistance and backed up. But still, mid, I'm looking for 14.5, 15, and then 20 or better. Technoglass has been steadily higher in the lousy market. Looks to me like a stock that wants to be 40. DGTX was a wonderful breakaway move and swing trade that took us from 10 to 20, almost 19.5, and now it's pulling back. The trend line may have been broken, so you got to be careful here. The key support is at 13.5. TMB or Timber Pharmaceuticals. I'm not sure if this has got to be a reverse split or something, but you can see the pattern. It's a large, multi-month ascending bull coil that broke out on Friday with big volume. 59 million shares. Some resistance at 3.75. That's my new target, then 5. TMDX, rock and roll, great looking chart. One of my swing trade picks is still going. I would not be surprised to see this one make a move into a $100 range. TRMD in the oil and gas sector, tremendous chart breaking out this last week as well. I'm looking for high 30s, low to mid 40s. TSLL, that's a tracking stock for Tesla. Of course, if Tesla moves and this gets above 14, I'm looking for 16 and 18. But keep an eye on support. Right now, 11.25, 35 area. UCL with a big run up, pull back and pop is now in a rising channel. It's currently wedging or coiling. Support 4.5. This week, once and if we get through 660, my first target, I'm looking for 8.5. VIST in the oil and gas sector, powerful chart. Should break back above last week's high, above 19. We're looking at 22.23. Viking Therapeutics, a big explosive breakaway move on drug earnings, drug news, popped and coiled, at which point I noted it. I think that stock has got higher levels to be had, 12.5 and 15 are your targets. BRCA, beautiful long-term chart, pop, wedge, and pop. It looks to me like we're headed for 9.5 and 11.5. Meridian, a top 20 pick, now in a coiling pattern for the last several weeks. If it pops, I'm saying 40 and 45 might be targets. BRNA, very similar. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm looking for a fifth wave move that takes me to the high 30s eventually, once he gets across 26. Weatherford has been phenomenal in a beautiful tight rising channel, taking it from under 17 to nearly 70. And it doesn't look done yet. My target is 79. WVE, my lowest price pick for the year. After reaching my first target near 7, 10, 12, it's pulled back to the $4 range instead of falling wedge. If it's a buy here with a tight stop on the 4. Your target back to about 5 3/4 and 7, and then 9. XM, beautiful breakaway gap and a beautiful bull flag. Keep an eye on this one because I think you got 18.5, 19 written all over it. We'll see. XPro breaks out through a triple top and goes to new all-time high, tagging 23.34 on Friday. The top of the channel says 27.8, may be doable. YPF, oil and gas, 1, 2, 3, 4, perfect bull coil. The target, if it breaks 15 and change up to near 17. Zeta, which popped on Friday and is really looking strong in here, might make a move and accelerate towards 12.13. Zyme, a tech trader top pick for the year as well, rallying bottom breakout and flag, looks like a buy right here as well, with a tight stop around 8. Target 13 and 17. And finally, Zixi, which did very well for us this year, going from 7 to 17, it's pulled back in the 12.65 range. It's forming a little bear flag in here, so be quite careful with this one. It's extremely volatile. The support on it, 11 and 9.5. That concludes the longs. Let's do some shorts and we finish up for today. AMRX. I know AMRK very well. AMRK, sorry. The stock broke a trend and bounced, and now it's got a bear wedge forming. Once and if it breaks 29, I'm looking for this to go to 24 and 21. APA in the oil sector has broken its long-term trend. It's below lateral price support. It might need to test lower levels. If the oil sector does what I think it might, I'd be looking for a move down into the low 30s in this one. AZTA broke down, tried to bounce, and it's got a very weak pattern. The long-term pattern is even worse. I'm looking for a retest of the 37 range, possibly 31. BABA has really broken down. It does have some support just below here at 85. That's my near-term target. We break 85, you might see the stock plunge into the mid-70s. But for now, I'd rather see a bounce in a weak one to get short. Billy, breaking key long-term support last week, late in the week. Now looking for extension to the downside, 75 and 65 targets. Calyx, head and shoulder top, breakdown and bear wedge. Boy, does that look bad. 47 and 40 are targets. CI, head and shoulder top, and then a snapback to resistance. Before this rollover, should we break 285 and targets of 272 and 260. CLFD, break support, comes down and forms a bear flag, and now looks lower to meet to 49.50. COP, another oil stock that's rolling over, it appears to be. Should it break 100, I would look for something in the 87 range, 88. CPRI, if that's not a bear wedge, I don't know what is. A breakaway gap, a bear wedge. I'm looking for a move down to the low 40s, maybe high 30s. CRT got hammered last week, breaking key support. Look for a snapback to the 23 range on a low volume for a potential entry up on the short side. DGX, rounding head and shoulder peg top, that's support. If it does break, I'm looking for 131 and 121. DINO, tech trader swing short, broke on Friday. I'm looking for more downside. 42, 35, etc. MRNA broke a head and shoulder top two and came down hard. Love to see it bounce back into the low 150s to short it. Target 118. Overstock still in a negative downtrend. It has been for a year or two. I'm looking for lower levels. Target 16. PBH new stock that I saw, look at that wedge breakdown on Friday. I would say if this breaks this head and shoulder top, we're looking for something around 51.2. Plexus broke down, rallied back. There's a bear wedge. I said shorted. Just got hammered on Friday and bounced back. Maybe an opportunity here. Looking for 86.88. SMLR breaks down hard. It forms a bear flag. I don't know how far they can take this down, but ugly. Now I'm looking for mid-teens. DCX breaks a big bear coil and gets hammered to the channel bottom. Waiting for a bounce back. Test the underbelly of this near 28. If you see a bounce near 28 and two cows, you can short it. Eventually, it'll be one cow at about 18. A Tandem in a beautiful downtrend has just broken its pattern. I'm looking for a retest at 33, maybe something in the high 20s as well. Tech Target broke hard 2 weeks ago and bounced, but boy, it just continues to come down, targeting 35 and 31. VICR broke hard on Friday. Again, looking for a bounce to short it with eventual targets in the low 30s, high 20s. VIR broke hard as well on Friday. We'd love to see it bounce back to 24.5 to short it or move down into the 18 range. And finally, BTLE, a tech traded swing short, came down to support and bounced, then reversed on Friday. This one, you could stop over 58, but any move down below 45, and we're looking at 38.9, maybe lower than that. Folks, that's a look at the Tech Trader weekend webinar that covered longs, shorts, technicals, and the ETFs of importance to us. Keep close tabs on these, keep reviewing this over the rest of the weekend and get prepared for Monday. We're going to need it. It's going to be a rough week. Fasten your seatbelts. HB out. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'll talk to you Monday.